That was fast as 5S is insane. Nuts. This thing can handle 5S. If you want to build a 5-inch ultralight or micro build that can handle 5S, I'm going to show you how to do it using the HGLRC F440 Micro Stack. Alright, so I'm getting ready to do my build with the HGLRC XJB F440 stack. This is the new stack from HGLRC. It's got the same flight controller as the other stacks. The only difference is this has 40 amp 32-bit ESCs. The flight controller is the same, and it can handle 5S. So I've wanted to try this out, and this is the one that I crashed into water and it got totally cooked. So I don't know if you'll be able to see, but yeah, you can see where the circuits kind of fused together and the little diodes, capacitors got raised up, and it got pretty beat up. It was in the water for about 24 hours. The battery was hooked up and it just kind of cooked itself. So this is completely fried, but it's the same stack. It just has a different set of ESCs that hook up to it with the little connector pins. So I'm going to be using that stack, and I'm going to be trying out a new frame. This frame is from OAS Hobby. They're in Florida, and I actually went down to Race Day Quads the other day, and I needed a new frame, and I got a frame there. And one of the guys, I'm not going to say who, I don't want to get anybody in trouble, but he pointed me in the direction of this frame from OAS Hobby. They're another local vendor here in Florida. They're actually in the Orlando area, and I contacted them. I just asked a question about the frame, and they emailed me back instantly, and they actually came out to meet me where I was flying. So they came, brought me this frame, and I gotta say, it's awesome. It's really cool. I really like it. I'll talk about it really quick. So it comes with the micro camera mounts. It's got this little rubber thing here where you can stick the antenna through, and this is an optional feature that they have. They have this little TPU printed holder for, they have these tubes that your antenna goes through, that your receiver antenna goes through. They call them forever tubes, and it's pretty cool. It's a pretty neat idea. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it because my antennas might not fit through this because they're pretty small, but it's really cool, and it's made to mount an axis antenna, and it's supposed to sit right down in there. So, but the problem I'm having right now is I kind of destroyed all my pigtails, and all I have is this RP SMA pigtail that I'm going to use, and this is an SMA axis. So I'm still waiting for some stuff in the mail, but right now I want to build this. This is the only pigtail I have, and I'm going to have to use a RP SMA antenna. But this frame is really cool. It's only about 77.8 grams with the little axis holder. So it's really neat. It's a true X. It's exactly what I was looking for. It's really sturdy. It's got 5mm arms, and the way it goes together is really, really cool. I'm surprised more people aren't doing this, but it's hard to explain. But the standoffs actually go down in through the plate and into the arms. So it's held together really well, and I really like how it's put together. So I can't wait to try this frame out. So enough about the frame. We got the stack. Unfortunately, this frame doesn't mount a 20 by 20 stack, so I'm gonna need an adapter, and I got one from Ronald at OAS Hobby. He's the guy that came out to meet me. So I have this little 20 by 20 adapter, and it's actually a TPU mounted one, and sometimes I have problems finding these 20 by 20 adapters. So usually what I do is I buy a top plate, and I just drill my own holes in it. So I think I'm going to use both of these, but the frame does need to come apart first to mount the flight controller. That's just the way it's set up. It's got these little slits for the battery strap, and there's plenty of room. I'm still waiting for my camera in the mail, and lately I've been just making my cameras so that I can swap them out. Just put connectors on all of them, so I just plug and play and switch them out when I need to. So that's the camera I'm going to be using. And for the motors, I'm going to be using the Race Day Quads 2306 2450 kV motors. And I was really happy with the 2205s, and I wanted to try the 2306s, and this is them. They're really cool motors. They're really light. They're about the same weight as the 2205s. They're about 30 grams. I actually haven't weighed them yet, so let me get the scale. They have really long wires too, and I'm probably going to cut a couple grams worth of wires off, so yep, 30.5 grams. So for 2306s, that's pretty light. These are Brother Hobby motors. They're just 2450 kV. It's a special kV for Race Day Quads. They make them specifically for Race Day Quads. I was really happy with the 2205 2450 kVs, so I wanted to try these out, and I can't wait to get these going. So that's pretty much it. I'm just going to use a little ESCs VTX. I like these. They work pretty well. So I'm going to go for kind of a light build, but I think I'm going to be over 250 grams. So I think I'm going to be closer to 275. That's just guessing. So I'm really not sure. And this is the 5S battery I'm going to try this with. It's a 1500 milliamp. I thought I ordered a smaller one, but this is what I got. It's China Hobby Line 100C 5S LiPo. It is one badass battery, and honestly, I can't even imagine how this stack can handle this battery, but I'm going to try it. It says it can handle it. We're going to do it. So really quickly, I just wanted to show you this frame. I think it's really cool how it's put together. The arms have these little grooves at the end, and it lines up with the standoff holes, and the standoffs actually go through this top plate, and they sit down into the groove in the arm. And it's really cool how it goes together. It's going to definitely hold that top plate in there really well, and that's going to keep the arms on really well. So it's really neat how it goes together. I think more frames should be designed the way this is. They're definitely on the right track here, and I think they got some great ideas, and they'll probably have some even cooler frames coming out in the future. So I think I'm going to really like this frame. I'm going to probably try some of their other stuff too, because they have some really neat stuff. If you've never checked out their website, check out oashobby.com, and they've got really good prices and really fast shipping too, so check them out. They're pretty cheap. One thing about this frame is you do need to take it apart to mount your flight controller, because this is the top plate, and it gets sandwiched down with the bottom plate, and the bottom plate you need to put your battery strap on before you put your frame together, because it's got these little holes for the battery strap to go through, and once you have everything together, it can be kind of difficult to get it through. So I would just put it on before, which is what I did, and I needed to take it apart anyways to get my flight controller on there, because I'm going to put the little adapter on, and I'm going to have to go in from the bottom to mount it on there, and once this bottom plate is on, you can't really access the holes for the flight controller, so you do need to take the frame apart. But I'm going to get everything mounted, start soldering. Here we go. So first, this is the HGLRC XJB F440 stack. I did a build and review of the previous version with the BLHeli ESCs. These have the BLHeli32 ESCs. They're 40 amp ESCs. They've got a 50 amp burst, and it's the same flight controller, so wiring it up is going to be exactly the same as my previous build. I'll try to go through it again the best that I can, and I'll try and put a little diagram on the screen, but again, the stack just fits together with these neat little pins. First time's always kind of tough to push together, but it goes together, just sits like that. Couple little standoffs. It comes with all the hardware, and it actually comes with a capacitor now, so I'm going to be using the capacitor for sure. I had one on my last build, and I'm pretty sure that it helped. But first, let me just check the weight on this stack. This is the stack without the VTX, because I'm going to be using my own VTX. They charge kind of a ridiculous amount for their VTX. It is pretty cool that you can stack it, and I'm pretty sure that it does have smart audio, or you can control it from your transmitter, but I think it's kind of overpriced, and I can get the same results with a $10 VTX. So this whole stack comes in at 8.8 grams, and that's really light. I'm pretty sure that's even lighter than the last version. So it's got the MPU 6000 gyro. It's got a 16 megabyte black box. It can handle 5S LiPo, and I'm going to be trying it out with a 5S to see if it can really handle 5S. The flight controller itself does have a 5 volt BEC rated for 3 amps, I believe. It's got Betaflight OSD. It is 20 by 20 mounting holes, and it looks like M2 hardware. I'm pretty sure the hardware is included in there. I haven't opened it up yet, but it's got hardware, stickers, capacitor, and the ESCs. They are 40 amp ESCs rated for a 50 amp burst. The ESCs themselves do not have a BEC, but they're connected directly to the flight controller. The flight controller can handle the full voltage of the battery, so the flight controller actually is the part that has the BEC on it to power your VTX and your camera. So it's capable of D-Shot 1200, which is pretty cool. And lately, HGLRC has been coming out with some pretty crazy stuff. I don't know how they can get a 40 amp ESC that small, but this handled my 2205 motors perfectly. I had it flat out for at least over 10 seconds, and I didn't have any problems with the ESCs. The motors handled it, the ESCs handled it. So the only problem I had with the other version was the accelerometer. My accelerometer was acting kind of funny, so we'll see if the same thing happens. Maybe I just had a bad one, but I didn't have it on anyways, and so when it's turned off, it really wasn't affecting the flying much. But yeah, so the wiring is going to be pretty much the same as the other stack, because it's got the same exact flight controller. I'll go through everything again, but that's the stack. Pretty light, pretty cool. And HGLRC, they've just been going pretty crazy. I think they just released a stack that has 60 amp ESCs, so that's just nuts. I mean, I don't know how they're doing this, but they seem to be pushing things to the limit here, and I think that's good for the hobby. That's good for everybody. It's going to push everyone else to go bigger and better, so I think it's a good thing. Whether the quality is there, I'm not 100% sure. I haven't had problems yet, but hopefully the quality is there, and hopefully they're giving us true numbers, like 40 amp is 40 amp, or their 60 amp is 60 amp, which I kind of find that hard to believe, but it does work, it does the job. They say it can handle 5S. I'm gonna find out for sure. I've got a 5S on the charger, and when I get this wired up, I'm gonna throw it on there eventually after I test it out. So we'll see for sure if this can handle 5S. So let's get started with this build. This is me cleaning my tip. I just did it, doing it again. I can never really get it 100% clean. How's that? Better? Alright. Buzzer positive is going on the furthest pad on the left. It says 5 volt, but it is where you wire your buzzer. Okay, that's it. Buzzer wired in. Moving on to the VTX. Okay, so the pads here, they go ground, camera, 5 volt, ground, VTX. It says bat. So the only pads that I'm going to need, and if you're running a tiny VTX like me, you're probably going to end up doing the same thing, is the cam pad is the video in from the camera. You're going to power your VTX from the 5 volt with the 5 volt and ground right here, and then you're going to use the video wire from the VTX on the VTX pad, and that's it. That's all you need. So my VTX powers the camera, so I have it set up to do that, and lately I've been setting up my VTX so that I can swap out cameras with a little connector. So I have that set up. So it's really easy just to change cameras, because I've been testing cameras a lot lately, and it's just a lot easier just to be able to switch out a camera onto any quad. So that's how I have it. So I'm just going to power my VTX from power wires. It's going to power my camera, and then the video from the camera is going into the camera pad. That's it. Cleaning my tip. Now to tin the pads I'm going to use. That's it. Wiring the VTX. First, the camera wire. It's a little bit tricky doing these little connectors. It's kind of a pain. It adds weight, and it just adds an extra failure point, but it makes things a lot easier if you need to switch out a camera. That's it. VTX is on. I'm going to heat shrink an antenna onto here. Lately I've been having a ton of antennas failing on me. Yeah, anytime you get a new antenna or a new pigtail, anything with a UFL connector, make sure you crimp the tabs down really tight, and that way your antenna isn't just going to pull away from the connector. And I crimped them down, and I'm going to put a piece of clear heat shrink on it too, just to make sure it stays on there, because I've had a ton of antennas failing right at that point where the little UFL connector just kind of pops right off. Now I'm just going to be adding my receiver, and it's going to go down here, 5 volt, ground, S-bus. I am using S-bus, so it's going to be the 3 pads on the left down here on the bottom. And if you're using Spectrum, you've got your 3.3 volt pad here. I forget what UART that is, but I'm going to flash it on the screen right here. So that's it. Here I am cleaning my tip. Just tinning the pads. 5 volt. Ground. S-bus. My receiver wires are plastic, and I hate that. Okay, the receiver is on. Next I'm going to add the battery leads. Oh, I almost forgot. Stickers! Womp. It comes with stickers! So, here we go. HGLRC. Oh, stickers that don't really work. Great. Alright. HGLRC. Build. Boom. Stickered. Always triple and quadruple check that you're putting the right polarity on to the pads here. I've done that a couple times where I just wasn't paying attention, so I swapped them, but luckily I noticed before I plugged in, so that'll fry your board. That's probably the best way to fry a board if you ever want to wreck one. So just make sure you're checking the positive and negative leads, and you've got it right. And good way to remember is the flat side of the XT60 is always positive, and I mean they're labeled. They're always labeled. I will start by cleaning the tip. And I just got solder everywhere. This sponge is older than I am. This sponge is probably 40 years old. So, not bad. Might be time for a new one. It's probably making my tip dirtier, but I almost forgot, I'm going to add the capacitor that they supplied with this stack. It says JCCON, and I think it's Japanese company something, but it is a 1000 microfarad 35 volt capacitor. So what I'm going to do, what I usually do, is I add wires onto the leads and I solder the wires on with the battery leads usually. But the way they want you to do it with this stack is they want you to put the capacitor on the opposite side of the battery leads, and they kind of have holes where you can slide the legs through. I'm not going to do that, but what I am going to do is I am going to solder onto the opposite side because that's the way they want you to do it. So I'm going to try it out. I do have other capacitors. I have better capacitors that I would prefer to use, but I'm going to test it out with the one supplied with the stack, and I'm going to see how that works. So that's all I do. I slide down some heat shrink. I shrink it on there. I left the legs too long. I don't really like doing that, but I should have plenty of room. I'm going to mount this on one of the standoffs and just kind of tie it on there, so should be good. Yeah, alright. So just going to slide on some heat shrink, shrink it on there, and get this onto the board. I don't know if anybody's seen these yet, but these are little stickers that go on your capacitors. It's a little nitrous oxide canister. They're pretty cool. Got them from Race Day Quads. Oh, this capacitor came off. That's not good. Yeah, I hit a tree with this thing yesterday and got a little beat up. But yeah, I don't think a sticker's going to fit on this capacitor that I just put on, but they are pretty cool. I have a bunch of them. Anytime I have a capacitor like this, I'm going to start putting these on. They're kind of neat. I like it. It was a great idea. So it looks like this is where they want you to put your capacitor on. This is the positive and the center pad is the ground. So positive ground. This other pad is labeled TXD. It seems a little weird. It seems like it should be the outside two pads, but it is labeled positive ground. I think I might double check. Just to be sure. So before I put the capacitor on, I wanted to power up and check the voltage on those pads just to be sure. So and this is going to be the first plug-in, so let's see if it works. Alright, beeper's working, flight controller's lit up, I can see that the VTX is lighting up, so we're good. I just didn't have an antenna on there, so I didn't want to leave it plugged in. But I'm going to check the polarity on the pads and get the capacitor on. So, alright, cleaning my tip. I checked the voltage on the pads on the opposite side of the battery leads, and it is labeled correctly. One thing that I did want to say is the voltage coming out of the pads over here are slightly lower than the opposite pads. So that leads me to believe that there is some kind of something is using power in between these pads. They're not directly connected. So it is losing power, which means that this is not the best spot to put the capacitor. The capacitor definitely belongs on the battery leads over here. I mean, unless they have something very special going on here, which I highly doubt, the capacitor should definitely be over here because the voltage reads slightly lower on this side, which means that there's something going on here that is causing a very slight loss of voltage. So I believe that this is not the best spot for the capacitor. It should go directly on the battery leads, but I am going to try it over here because that's the way that they have intended us to use it. So I'm going to get the capacitor on right now and pop this thing on the frame, and we'll see how it looks. And this is how I have it. I got the adapter to fit on the underside of the mid plate, and the arms are going to fit, and the bottom plate is going to fit on there, no problem. I'm going to have a tiny bit of room, but it's going to be room. I should be able to get the battery strapped through and everything, and it's going to have a really low profile to it, so this should work. So let me get everything mounted on here and I'll start with the motors. So motors are all wired up. Let me finish putting it together and check out the final product. Alright, so here it is, all finished up. This is the final product. I gotta say, this is one solid build. This thing is like rock solid. I ended up throwing my micro Swift on here because I've got another micro camera coming in the mail, it just hasn't gotten here yet, and I had to use a RP SMA pigtail because that's all that I had. I should also be getting some antennas in the mail today, so unfortunately I had to run the pigtail up to the top here, and the antenna is actually going to stick on the top. That's not what I wanted, and I don't like how it looks, and I don't like having the antenna sticking out the top. What I am going to be doing is I'm going to be using this axis mount on the rear, and I'm going to be probably putting an axis antenna out the back. This thing just kind of sits right in the hole there. It's perfect. I also have tubes for the receiver wires to come out, but right now I've got my receiver mounted pretty decently. I've been doing this lately. I've been putting them underneath the arms, and it's been working out pretty good, except for when I broke an arm and ripped the wire off, but as long as you don't break an arm, it's not bad. So this is it. Let's see how much it weighs. And honestly, it looks heavy. It looks like a 300 gram quad, but honestly it feels light. So let's see where it comes in at. So final weight is 267.7, so we'll say 268, and this is a heavy antenna, and it's not what I'm going to be using. Actually, I have really small antennas coming today, and that's what I prefer to use, and I won't even need the pigtail. I have the antenna that plugs right into there. I'll be running it right out the back. I will probably use that axis mount and just sit the antenna back there, so it's going to be perfect. I'm going to try to get some flight footage with this. Alright, that's it. Thanks for watching. Okay, so I'm back out here again today. I tried to get some flight footage with this, but the DVR that I got was absolute garbage. It's the Happy Model DVR. I'll be making a short video on it because it's not worth buying, and you might want to check out the footage that I got. So the footage is absolutely horrible. It keeps pausing and blinking, and it's not worth it. So that same day, my other DVR finally came in the mail. So I'm going to try and get some flight footage with this. I switched out the props. I was not happy with the other props I had on there. I just got a bunch of stuff in the mail today. I got my antennas, I got new props, I got another camera. I got everything that I need. So I'm going to be switching out this antenna. I didn't have time to do it today. It's about to rain. Just kind of rained on my way home. So I'm going to try and get some flight footage with this before it starts to rain out. I got decent props on here. These are the Dell Prop 5040s. I really like these props. I just ordered a bunch of them, so I think I'm going to be sticking with these from now on. So, all right, here we go. Here's some flight footage with this HGLRC Micro Stack, the F440. I've got a Runcam Micro Swift 2. I've got a little ESCs VTX 200 megawatt. And these are the race day quads, 2306, 2450 kV motors, and they absolutely rip. Honestly, the props that I had on there, they couldn't even handle these motors. I was getting a ton of flex from the props, and when I was doing quick turns and flips and stuff, the props, they felt like they were gonna snap off. So hopefully these props can handle these motors. Should be all right. So here we go. Let's see what I can get.
Oh, watch this.